Let's bring in Matt Viser. He's Deputy Washington Bureau Chief for the Boston Globe, and he joins us now from Washington. So, Matt, the ranking Democrat on the Intel Committee, Adam Schiff, is now urging Chairman Nunes to reschedule Sally Yates' hearings. What are the odds that we'll see that?
I mean, there's mounting pressure for that. I mean, there's mounting pressure and various reasons on Chairman Nunes and his actions so far. So I think there will be a push for Sally Yates and for others to testify, although the House investigation is certainly mired right now in politics, and it's hard to sort of see the results of this. People having faith in it. The Senate investigation is proceeding in a sort of a different way, where there seems to be more cooperation between Republicans and Democrats on that committee.
Do you think maybe Sean Spicer's reaction yesterday may push this along even further? Because he basically said, that report is totally false. The White House never tried to stop her from testifying. She can testify if she wants to.
Yeah, I mean, it does sort of call the bluff, and sort of say, go ahead and testify. There's sort of a lot of discussion over whether or not the White House demanded that she not testify. But we do have letters between her attorney and the Attorney General's office. So there was some communication between Sally Yates and the Trump administration. What the White House role specifically was in that is a little bit less clear.
So, Matt, Chairman Nunes is continuing to dig in his heels amid calls for his recusal. That is coming from Democrats. But given the events of the past 24 hours or so, I mean, we saw House Speaker Paul Ryan. He was asked earlier this week, should he recuse himself? He said no. But do you think that some Republicans are going to join Democrats on that call?
So far, there have been Republicans calling on him to do more explaining. People like Susan Collins, who is in the Senate but is a moderate Republican, has called on, said some of his actions have been a little bit troubling. There's not much faith in what his conclusions may be because of some of his actions. A lot of this specifically around him going to the White House to view some classified information relating to President Trump and his claims of wiretapping. So I think that there are some calls for him to explain himself. Republicans so far have not yet called on him to step down or step aside from the committee, and he does seem to have the support among House Republican leadership. So I think it's still early for Republicans jumping on board the way Democrats have been.
So now leaders of the Senate Intelligence Committee are set to provide an update on their investigation this afternoon. And, we spoke to Senator John McCain yesterday, and he told us that the Republican chairman, Richard Burr, and the ranking Democrat, Mark Warner, have been working in a very bipartisan manner. So do you anticipate that the Senate investigation now will become central moving forward because there's so much trouble with the House?
I do. I mean, the work on the Senate has been much more behind the scenes. There's not been the daily sort of press conferences from the members. They're sort of waiting until they have something to say, and presumably they have something to say today. So I think there has been a lot more bipartisan cooperation on the Senate side than there has been on the House side, which sort of could yield results that have sort of the branch of government in Congress, challenging the executive branch in a way that the House results have not been as productive in that way. They did have the hearing with James Comey there. That allowed for some testimony publicly, but behind the scenes, there's been a lot more infighting, between Republicans and Democrats on the House side.
All right, Matt, let's turn to the Trump administration's legislative agenda. Last night, President Trump told senators, a bipartisan group of them, that health care reform would be easy and that he's expecting a deal very soon. What are you hearing from your sources about a renewed push on that front?
I mean, I think there is an effort, to see if there's a way that cooler heads have prevailed over the weekend. It does seem unlikely, though. Democrats are not going to cooperate. There doesn't seem to be much change of heart from the conservative Republicans, the Freedom Caucus is not sort of changing its tune. So, I mean, he talks about how it'll be easy to do. If it was easy, it would have already happened. So, I mean, I think that there's this idea that they could do it, and President Trump has certainly talked more about working with Democrats, but there's no signs whatsoever at this point that anybody's changing their posture on this.
Yeah, right. Before we let you go, Matt, I want to ask you about a DNC chair, Tom Perez, who has asked all committee members to resign. What do you make of that move? You know, what comes next for the DNC?
I mean, the DNC, I mean, for Democrats, they've been sort of overshadowed by a lot that's happening among the Republican Party, but there's still a lot of turmoil within the Democratic Party. So I think that's you're seeing a little bit of that about where Tom Perez wants to take the DNC and, wanting to ask for everybody's resignation. Sometimes this happens in normal turnover. You have a new leader coming in who wants his own staff, but it's an indication of wanting to take it in a different direction than his predecessor, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and in the interim, Donna Brazile. So, I mean, I think that there is an effort from Tom Perez to sort of start anew at the DNC. What direction that heads, is still a little bit less clear.
Yeah, indeed. Well, this might be the time for them to get their house in order because we're all looking the other way.
All right.
Matt Viser of the Boston Globe, thank you so much, Matt.
Thanks, guys.